Okay, so let's say you're thinking about, buying property in Singapore next year. You're probably wondering what's going to happen with the market, right?
Right.
We've got a deep dive today based on a November 2024 report. And it analyzes some of the big trends from this past year and gives us a little peek into what we might see in 2025.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is 2024 was, it was a bit of a roller coaster for the private property market.
Yeah, this report actually has a graph showing new private home sales, excluding executive condominiums. And the first half of the year, it was pretty sluggish.
Yeah, only about 1,889 units sold. So those high interest rates definitely had something to do with it. When it costs more to borrow money, people get a little hesitant to make a big purchase like property.
Then get this. The report says sales practically doubled in the second half of the year to something like 4,000 to 4,500 units. So what changed?
Well, remember how the U.S. Federal Reserve kind of surprised everyone with that larger than expected rate cut? Well, that had a ripple effect, really, globally, and Singapore's interest rates went down too.
So lower mortgage rates.
Exactly. Buyers who were kind of sitting on the fence saw an opportunity, especially with developers launching a bunch of new projects in the second half of the year.
Wow, talk about good timing.
Right.
It's crazy how much those interest rates can affect things. Speaking of successful launches, this report highlights two in particular, Chuan Park and Emerald of Katong. They seem to defy that slow start we were talking about. It really took off.
It's true. Chuan Park, which is in the outside central region, sold an estimated 714 units. And Emerald of Katong in the rest of central region moved a whopping 835 units. But I don't think it was just luck.
Okay, so what made them stand out?
Well, for one thing, both are what we call large-scale developments. That allows for a greater variety of unit types and amenities, which obviously attracts a wider range of buyers. Think about it. If you're looking for a very specific type of unit, you're more likely to find it in a bigger development. Plus, both of these are they're in prime locations, which always helps.
So it's not just about being big. It's about being big in the right place. But were there any strategies they used that we could learn from?
Well, both Chuan Park and Emerald of Katong had really excellent marketing campaigns. They created a lot of buzz before the launch, got people excited and interested, and they focused on high quality units with, the features and fittings that today's buyers are looking for.
So they basically nailed it. Location, marketing, and giving people what they want. It proves that even with all the cooling measures in place, you can still find success if you do things right.
And that's a key takeaway for you, the listener. It means that, even with cooling measures, you can still find opportunities in those desirable areas if you know what to look for. Location is still king, yes. But smart developers are finding ways to make their projects really stand out.
So let's say you're thinking, okay, 2024 was interesting, but what about me? What should I expect if I want to buy in 2025?
Well, get ready, because the report predicts another wave of new launches coming throughout the year. We could be looking at around 14,000 new units hitting the market, including ECs.
14,000? Wow, that's a lot of options.
Yeah, it is. And some of the names to watch for are the Ori, Marina View Residences, Parktown Residence, and Elta. Those are expected to be quite popular.
For both investors and people who actually want to live there.
Yeah. Good mix.
Okay, but you mentioned ECs.
Yes.
Can you remind us what those are?
Sure. Executive condominiums. They're kind of like a hybrid between public and private housing. They have some restrictions similar to HDB flats at first, but eventually they become fully privatized.
Okay, so a stepping stone into the private market.
Exactly. And they're often more affordable than a comparable private condo. So they're attractive for, let's say, HDB upgraders who want to make that move, but maybe can't afford a full condo right away.
I see. That makes sense. And what's the buzz about ECs in 2025?
Well, the report says we could see 2 or 3 new EC projects launching, potentially bringing over 2,000 new EC units to the market. That would be the highest number of EC launches in a year since 2016.
Wow, that's a surge. So it sounds like ECs are making a comeback. But with all these new launches, both condos and ECs, what's the prediction for interest rates?
Well, the report anticipates further interest rate cuts in 2025, which is good news for buyers, of course. Lower rates generally mean lower mortgage payments, making it a little easier to afford a property.
Makes things more appealing, that's for sure. But even with favorable interest rates, how does the overall economic outlook play into all of this?
Well, that's another positive sign. Singapore's economy is projected to stay strong. We're expecting steady growth, stable employment rates, and continued interest from both local and foreign buyers. All of this points to, well, a pretty healthy environment for the property market.
So 2025 is shaping up to be a pretty active year, but with a positive overall outlook. But the question everyone wants to know is, what about prices? Will they go up with all this activity, or will things stay relatively stable?
That's the million-dollar question, and the report offers some insights on that. But before we jump into that, I think it's worth taking a closer look at some specific segments of the market, like the resale market and the role of foreign buyers.
Sounds like we've got a lot more to unpack in this deep dive. Stay with us as we explore what the 2025 property market might have in store for you.
It's interesting, to think about how those macro trends we were just talking about, like interest rates, the economy, they actually trickle down and affect individual buyers in different ways.
Right. It's like a chain reaction. One thing leads to another, and suddenly you've got a whole new market.
Exactly. And speaking of individual buyers, remember those ECs we mentioned? Well, the report dives a bit deeper into their potential resurgence in 2025.
Oh, yeah. The ones they could see their highest number of launches since 2016. Over 2,000 new units, right?
Yeah, that's right. And here's a detail that might be particularly interesting. The report highlights that these upcoming EC projects, they're all located in the outside central region, or OCR.
So for those who might not be familiar with Singapore, that means they're further out from the downtown core, right?
Exactly. And this makes sense when you consider what's been happening in those areas. That the government has been investing a lot in developing the suburbs, improving transportation links, creating more amenities.
So those outer regions are becoming more appealing, especially for families or those who just want more space without that city center price tag.
Precisely. It's all about creating attractive, self-sufficient communities outside the core. The report even mentions a few specific EC developments to keep an eye on. Arel of Tampines, the Jalan Loyang Besar GLS, and the Plantation Close GLS.
Okay, I'm adding those to my list. But why this sudden surge in ECs? What's driving this renewed interest?
Well, think about the typical EC buyer. It's often someone who, aspires to own private property, but isn't quite ready to make that leap financially.
So someone upgrading from an HDB flat, but can't quite swing a condo just yet.
Exactly. ECs offer that stepping stone approach. You get a brand new property, modern facilities, often at a price point that's, more attainable than a private condo.
It's like in the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
But wouldn't all these new ECs coming online affect the resale market?
That's a great question, and it's something you should definitely consider. The report suggests that with this increased supply, we might see some downward pressure on resale EC prices.
So if you're not in a rush to move and you're looking for a bargain, the resale market for ECs could be an interesting option. But if you want a brand new unit with all the latest features, then those upcoming launches are worth checking out.
Exactly. The choice depends on your needs, your budget, and your timeline.
There's no one-size-fits-all answer in the property market, right?
Absolutely. Every buyer is unique.
Okay, so we've talked about new launches, condos and ECs. But what about the resale market for private condos in general? What's the outlook for those looking to buy pre-owned properties in 2025?
Well, the report anticipates that the resale market will remain fairly resilient. This is partly due to that limited supply of new completions we talked about. Remember, even with all those new launches, the number of units actually being finished in 2025 is projected to be lower than in 2024.
Right, because those new developments take time to build.
Exactly. And that limited supply, combined with continued demand from HDB upgraders, could create some upward pressure on resale prices.
So even if you're not buying brand new, it sounds like it could still be a good time to be a seller.
It's definitely a possibility. However, it's important to remember that the resale market is incredibly location-specific.
Sure, prime districts, those near top schools, or with excellent transport links will always be in demand.
Precisely. Those areas are likely to see the strongest price growth. But even within those neighborhoods, the value of a resale property can vary depending on a lot of things, like the age of the building, the floor level, the facing, even the availability of parking.
So it's not just about saying, I want to buy in District 10.
Yeah.
You really need to do your homework.
Exactly. A good real estate agent can be invaluable here. They can provide insights into the local market, help you negotiate a fair price, and guide you through all the paperwork.
Having that expert guidance can make all the difference.
Absolutely. Whether you're buying or selling, a knowledgeable agent can help you navigate the complexities.
So, circling back to the report's outlook for 2025, it seems like they're painting a pretty optimistic picture.
Overall, yes. The combination of a strong economy, stable interest rates, and a steady flow of new launches creates a favorable environment for both buyers and sellers.
But as we've been saying, there are nuances. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. That tightening supply of completed units could create some challenges, and we can't forget about those unexpected global events that could always throw a wrench in the works.
Those are important points. The key is to stay informed, do your due diligence, and make decisions that align with your circumstances and your risk tolerance.
Right. Don't blindly follow trends or jump in without doing your research.
Exactly. Property investment is a big decision, and it's crucial to approach it with a clear head and a well-thought-out strategy. And speaking of strategy, the report delves into the motivations of different types of buyers, which I think is really insightful.
Oh, that's interesting, because understanding who's buying and why can give you a better sense of how the market might behave.
Precisely. Different buyers have different needs, different priorities, different financial capabilities, and these factors shape their decisions and ultimately influence the overall market.
Okay, so let's break it down. Who are the key players in the private property market?
Well, we've already talked about HDB upgraders, those families moving from public to private housing. They're a major force in both the new launch and resale markets.
Right, it's that natural progression. Families grow, incomes increase, and that HDB flat feels a bit small.
Exactly. And for many of these upgraders, location is everything. They often want to stay in the same neighborhood, close to their networks, schools, and amenities.
So that explains why those mature estates are so popular.
You got it. And for those who can't quite afford a private condo yet, ECs offer that appealing alternative.
Right, that stepping stone. But HDB upgraders aren't the only ones driving the market.
Not at all. We also have a lot of investors who see private property as a way to grow their wealth.
Ah, yes, the investors. What are they looking for?
For them, it's all about rental yield and capital appreciation. They want properties that generate income and increase in value over time.
So less about schools and more about the financial side of things.
Generally, yes. Although certain lifestyle factors can boost rental yields, like being near MRT stations or having good connectivity to the city.
So even for investors, location still matters.
Exactly. And when choosing between new launches and resale, investors weigh the pros and cons very carefully.
Such as?
Well, new launches often come with a higher price tag, but they also offer the latest designs, modern facilities, and potentially higher capital appreciation.
It's like buying a brand new car versus a used one.
That's a great analogy. Resale properties can be more affordable, but they might need renovations, and their appreciation potential might be lower.
So it's all about finding the right fit for their portfolio.
Precisely. And it's fascinating to see how these different types of buyers, the upgraders, the investors, they all contribute to the market dynamics.
It's like a giant puzzle.
But that puzzle is always changing.
Which is what makes it so interesting. But there's one more group we haven't talked about. Foreign buyers. What's their role?
Ah, yes, the international investors, who see Singapore as a safe and stable place to invest. Singapore has always been attractive to foreign buyers.
Even with the cooling measures and extra stamp duties.
Absolutely. You'll find them especially active in the luxury condo segment.
So those iconic developments with amazing views.
Without a doubt. And because these buyers often have significant capital, their presence can really drive up prices.
But what about the more affordable segments?
To a lesser extent, yes. While most foreign demand is at the higher end, some are also drawn to more affordable properties, maybe for rental income or to get a foot in the door.
So even if you're not in the luxury market, there's still some competition from foreign buyers.
It's all part of understanding the bigger picture.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Economic outlook, different types of buyers, new launches, ECs, the resale market. What's the main takeaway for our listener? Who's thinking about entering the market in 2025?
Well, I think the report paints a cautiously optimistic picture. There are a lot of positive factors supporting growth, but there are also potential challenges.
So not a guaranteed win, but definitely opportunities for those who do their research.
Exactly. And that's where having the right information and guidance can really help.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of information in this deep dive. But before we wrap things up, I want to touch on something we haven't discussed yet. Those intangible factors that can influence the market.
Oh, you mean the things that are harder to quantify,
Right.
but can have a huge impact?
Exactly. It's like trying to predict the future. You can look at all the numbers and trends, but sometimes those unexpected things, like lifestyle changes or demographics, can really shake things up.
Like trying to predict the next big fashion trend.
Exactly. So let's talk about some of those intangible factors that could influence the market in 2025. For example, how will remote work affect demand for different types of properties?
That's a great question. Will people be looking for larger homes with home offices? Or will they want to be near co-working spaces? It's hard to say for sure.
And what about the focus on sustainability? Will buyers pay more for eco-friendly features?
Another interesting trend to watch.
And we can't forget about changing demographics. Singapore has an aging population, and we're seeing more multi-generational households.
True, and those shifts will likely influence demand for different types of housing.
It's like the property market is a mirror reflecting all these changes.
And for those who can anticipate those changes, there could be significant rewards.
So it's not just about the numbers. It's about understanding people.
Exactly. It's about looking beyond the obvious.
Well, you've given our listener a lot to think about. But before we go, let's summarize the key takeaways for someone considering the market in 2025.
I think the key takeaway is that 2025 will be a dynamic year, with both opportunities and challenges. The report highlights the potential for growth, but it also emphasizes the importance of being informed.
So do your homework, understand your options.
Exactly.
Well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive, but before we say goodbye, I want to leave our listener with one final thought.
Oh, I love a good cliffhanger.
We've talked about all the factors that can influence prices: interest rates, supply and demand, the economy, government policies, even global events. But what about those less tangible factors, the things that are harder to measure?
I see where you're going with this.
Things like lifestyle trends, changing demographics, even shifts in consumer preferences. How will the rise of remote work impact demand?
Right. Will people want larger homes with offices?
And what about sustainability? Will buyers pay more for eco-friendly features?
These are all great questions. They highlight that the property market is more than just buildings.
It's a reflection of our lifestyles, our priorities, our hopes for the future.
And that's what makes it so fascinating.
So, to our listener, we challenge you to think beyond the numbers. Consider those intangible factors that might shape the market.
What trends are you seeing? What shifts are you noticing in your own priorities?
Your insights might just hold the key to the future of real estate.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Like we've been saying this whole time, the Singapore property market, it's a living thing.
Yeah, it's always evolving, reacting to trends.
And sometimes it's even setting the trends. Like, remember those co-living spaces that popped up a few years ago? Who would have predicted that?
Or those huge integrated developments where you've got everything you need right there.
Yeah, suddenly it's not just about the MRT station or the good school. It's like a whole ecosystem in your condo. Gyms, supermarkets, childcare, even pools on the roof.
It shows you how people's needs are changing,
Yeah.
Especially in cities like Singapore. They want convenience, community, and they want it all in one place.
And I bet as those needs keep changing, we'll see even more new types of housing popping up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look at micro apartments. For those young professionals who,
Yeah.
they prioritize location and affordability over space. And then on the flip side, you've got this growing demand for multi-generational homes.
That's so interesting because family structures are changing too.
Right. More people are living with extended family.
Exactly.
So developers are like, okay, let's make these flexible layouts, got to adapt to all these different living situations.
It's like property investment isn't just about the numbers anymore. It's about understanding people.
Yeah, a property is more than just an asset. It's where people make memories.
And if you can figure out what people want
Yeah.
before they even know they want it,
Yeah.
well, that's where the magic happens.
That's the key, yeah.
So, okay, let's bring it back to our listener one last time. What are the big takeaways from this report?
2025 is going to be a busy year. You've got that wave of new launches, over 14,000 units maybe, including those EC projects we talked about.
So lots of options, but also lots of competition.
Right. And while interest rates are looking good, you got to be prepared for anything. Make sure you're comfortable with those mortgage payments.
Solid advice. And when it comes to new launch versus resale,
It all depends on what you're looking for, really. New launches are shiny and new, might have higher appreciation. Resale can be cheaper, but might need some work.
location, location, location.
Always.
Think about your lifestyle, the amenities you need.
And don't forget those intangible factors, like remote work, sustainability, changing demographics.
If you can stay ahead of the curve, you'll be in good shape.
Definitely.
Okay, last piece of advice.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. Find a good real estate agent.
Yeah, they can be a lifesaver,
Yeah.
especially in a market like Singapore.
They can give you the inside scoop, help you find the right property, negotiate for you, walk you through the whole thing.
Think of them as your property guru. Well, we hope this deep dive has been helpful and maybe even got you a little excited about the possibilities.
Singapore has so much to offer, especially for those who are ready to make smart moves.
Remember, knowledge is power.
And making informed decisions is the key to success.
Keep learning, keep exploring,
And keep diving deep.
see you next time.